All right, Friday was all about looking at the Ultimate Fighting Championship, so we didn't get into a lot from the Canadian Football League. So let's get into it here as we start things off with the Montreal Alouettes beating the Saskatchewan Roughriders in what was a really, really disappointing game for the green and white. And I'll get into that a little bit more on the Rider Happy Hour in the next couple of days. But this was a really, really frustrating night for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to give up what felt like a very convincing lead when backup quarterback comes in is really tough. And now credit Davis Alexander, who came in and lit the world on fire against a Riders defense that has not been easy to do that against. So credit him for what he was able to accomplish there. But this was a difficult game for Saskatchewan. It just felt like they couldn't stop any of the Montreal momentum. It was kind of like, to use the UFC example that we're going to use later, it was kind of like Leon Edwards not being able to get Bilal Muhammad off of him and have that be a real challenge. It just, as soon as that ball got moving, Saskatchewan just couldn't stop them defensively. And this is something that's come up for Saskatchewan a couple of times, where there was against McInnes and Vernon Adams, and now in this game here, where there's an obvious trend that is building, and Saskatchewan hasn't been able to really adjust to that necessarily. So that has been really frustrating for Saskatchewan. On the Montreal side, this is a sneaky big win. Ottawa is charging hard, and to be able to pick up a victory with Cody Fajardo out of the lineup is really impactful. And this kind of goes to show what I've been talking about with Montreal for a little bit. This is a beautifully built roster. They made some moves at the deadline last year to go out and acquire Sankey and really really solidify this defense. And with the weapons that have stepped up in Julian Grant and in Philpott and Speaker to a lesser extent, but Fletcher as well, you don't need to come in and be Nathan Rourke to just light the world on fire with this team. There are weapons that you can absolutely go to. And so that really did show it there. And it was a tough one for Caleb Evans because he looked bad and he was, I think, actively hurting this team. And Davis Alexander came in and just made the smart passes at the smart times, and that allowed them to really get going and really get the ball moving. But with Ottawa charging hard, to be able to get that win, hold on to top spot in the East Division, and keep that first round bye locked in as we creep towards Labor Day is really, really important for Montreal. So a big win for them on the weekend. The other one I want to talk about, the Calgary Stampeders. I'm based in Calgary, so this is a team that I pay attention to quite a bit. That was pretty dreadful from a Calgary standpoint. And I think the big thing is, like, you can kind of just chalk it up to a bad game, but this defense that was supposed to be the strength of this Calgary team all season long has not been there for this group. And that has been really, really disappointing, that the defense that was supposed to be the strength has ended up being the weakness. And now this one, it like everything just snowballed on this team. But Ottawa's defense is not one that you should only be giving up 6 points to. This should have been kind of like that shootout that Calgary and Ottawa had a season ago, where it was just like the ball was flying all over the place. And the ball was just kind of flying all over the place, and that became a real shootout and kind of the solidifying. Okay, Ottawa's defense just gives this up to everybody, don't they? And so I have real concerns now on the Calgary side of things, on both sides of the football. For Ottawa, Drew Brown continuing to get better and spreading the ball around, and his weapons starting to really develop here has been really important. And it's something that we talked about all offseason, that this was, maybe they weren't the biggest winners of the offseason, but they certainly set themselves up for the future by going out and getting a Drew Brown. That was really big for them. And so this is, like, I don't know how for real Ottawa is, but they're at least a little bit for real in an East that has a lot of not for real right now. So no, not overly lengthy, but that is just a quick recap from what I saw from the CFL. We'll get more in depth on the Canadian Football League coming up on Wednesday when we do power rankings.